URI golf coach Gregg Burke is currently in his 16th year at URI, having served as Deputy Director of Athletics, Interim Director of Athletics, and currently as the head coach men's golf. Coach Burke has made a tremendous impact on the success of the men's golf program by recruiting talented student athletes and leading the Rams to 18 tournament championship wins, including an ECAC championship and New England championship in 2015, as well as an individual NCAA tournament appearance in 2016. He has mentored 10 All A10 players and received the New England Coach of the Year award. Leading us through this evening's program will be Coach Gregg Burke. Welcome.
Oh, I appreciate everyone being here tonight. I'll introduce my guys in a second. I can see who's on the call. It means a great deal to me that we have a mom here, my pen pal mom, and we have a former player. I know there's a couple more I'm going to try to get on later on the list. And I was going to do this later, but I want to do it now. There's someone else in this call that I really would like to mention. In all my time as coach and as a coach administrator, the person that really gave golf more support than anyone in the fundraising department of what we do in the fundraising and alumni is Trusan Tyronelli. Trusan's now Director of Athletic Giving at Coast Guard Academy, which means two things. It means they're going to get great fast because he's going to fund them, and now I can go to the beach and not worry that we're going to be attacked. So to introduce my guys who are on the call, start with, if you can just raise your hand, guys. Not all will be speaking. Nate Ingram is a freshman, former Massachusetts high school champion, which he did as a sophomore. Also on the call is, I'll say the big three for last, is Austin Fox, who is a junior, has started every year for us, all 3 years. Nate's a business major. Austin's a business major as well. Brandon Gillis, who is not feeling very well, on the call, which I greatly appreciate you being here, Gilly. Brandon, among others, are in a hotel right now. Brandon has COVID, is in day about 4 or 5, so he's starting to hit the bad run of it. Andrew DiPetrillo, who's already had COVID because we lead the league in COVID. Andrew is a terrific addition to our team, both on the golf course and off. Brandon's communications major. Andrew is a landscape architecture major. He transferred in from Emory and had a storied junior career, and we're absolutely thrilled to have him. Jordan Brysich, who's at the top of the screen on mine, phenomenal high school athlete, starting quarterback for a couple of years, starting point guard for 3 years. Great addition. He transferred in. He's from the Seattle area. Austin Fox is from near Saratoga in Albany, which I forget to mention. Nate's from Massachusetts, I did mention. And I did Jordy, Gilly. I can't see everybody. Bryson Richards. Bryson is from East Montpelier, Vermont, which is in the next town over from the North Pole. Tremendous young man, phenomenal athlete in high school, and came to us, in my mind, with the idea that he would one day replace Chris Francora, just as Chris came here to replace Billy Walthouse. As a freshman, his second tournament ever, Bryson won a college tournament at Bethpage, which was a huge thrill for us and for him. Am I missing anyone besides Christopher? Last but not least, Chris Francora, arguably one of the top 2 or 3 golfers in URI history. Proud to say that we're coming at the end of the season awards for URI athletics, and Chris is the only athlete on both the Athlete of the Year award nominating slate and the Student Athlete of the Year nominating slate. He's from Amesbury, Mass, 3.7 finance major. Chris is a New England Player of the Year last year, All East, All A10, obviously, 2-time All New England. Chris has won 3 tournaments for us already, with a couple to go. Second person to win 3 in 20 years, along with Billy Walthouse. This past summer, Chris won 8 golf tournaments and set 4 course records. So he's really the real deal. We wish him all the luck as we come down the stretch, as we do all the boys. If I could recap a couple things very quickly of my time here. The thing I'm most proud of, the thing we talk about first in recruiting, is academics. In all 10 of my years, we have a perfect graduation rate, puts us in the top, over that 10-year period, puts us in the top 1% of all sports in NCAA Division I, II, and III. Top 1%. No other URI team has done it. We've done it. In 2018, which is just a couple of years ago, we were the first men's team in the 40 years they've tracked this statistic. We're the first men's team at URI to have the high team GPA. The other 39 years, it's gone to a women's team. We were the first men's team to pull it off. All dedicated to the hard work these guys did. In the history of the school, we've had 19 All-American scholars, which is obviously a nice number. 11 of those awards have come in the last 5 years. And we're on track right now to have 3 or 4 this current year. So the boys have worked very hard. In the history of the school, we've only won 2 golf coaches presidential scholar awards. It goes to a team that has a total GPA of 3.5 or better. And like I said, we've only done it twice in the history of URI, and we did it in 2018 and 2020. So this group is a very special group when it comes to things, the responsibility off the golf course. On the what people seem to care about as much, if not more, in my time, we've had, this is my 10th year, but my 9th season because of the 2 COVID semesters canceled. But in our 56 events that we've played, we have 15 wins and 8 runner-ups. Pretty darn good. We've averaged 2 tournament championships a year. So we're awfully proud of that. And we have now won 11 of our last 35 tournaments. So we're hoping that continues. It's been a rough year for us in that we're on our 2.5 quarantine. We had a 10-day quarantine where we missed our first 2 tournaments. We played a 1-day to try to get ready for next tournament. Then we played a great tournament, which we were fortunate enough to win. And then we were supposed to be playing in a tournament this weekend, but we had to withdraw because of COVID. So we will have ended up losing 4 of our 7 tournaments for the spring. We will play, the A10s are coming up in 2 weeks, and we are going to play a 1-day tournament next week. Just have to work out some details. So as I think about all the success we've had, it's obviously all goes to the players, but there's some special things in our program that have helped us win. And I'm going to ask each of the boys, I'm going to ask them a couple different questions. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the weight room. If I was recruiting a young man, and Mrs. Richards, who's on the call, and all the boys are on the call, can attest to this. The first thing I do is I talk about academics. It's the most important thing to what we do. But the second thing I talk about is the performance center, also known as the weight room. These gentlemen lift Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they're in the weight room at 5:45 a.m. It's a sacrifice in many ways, but it's a dedication that's made us better. We've had one player, believe it or not, gained 53 pounds in 3 years and went on to come in second in the A10. We've had another young man who needed to go the other way and lost about 36 pounds in 2 years and went from a walk-on to a starter and was actually the medalist in the round amateur. It's central to what we do, and these guys really, really work hard at it. I'm going to use Chris for this one because Chris is not unlike a lot of the freshmen. Came in, was a very good athlete, pretty good player, but he didn't believe in all the strenuous sacrifice of the weight room. A lot of them come in with success and have their own way. Chris, after the first semester, really got it, to use the vernacular, and now is one of the hardest workers we ever had in the weight room. His core strength and mobility strength is unmatched. And to put it in perspective, he can now hit his 3-wood in the fairway over 300 yards. Which I believe has a lot to do with his athletic ability, his development in the weight room. So Chris, why don't you take, and the reason I bring up the weight room specifically is, if it wasn't for Tom and Kathy Ryan and the estate of Ellie Carson, which that money was directed to our #1 all-time fan and booster, Sandy McWright, that building would not have been built, and now we have access to it. It's been a great deal to us. So Chris, I'd ask you to talk about what we do in the Performance Center.
Start off by saying thanks, Coach, for the kind words. Like you said, like coming in, I really didn't believe in the strength training. I just thought as a golfer, you didn't really need it. But, I kind of took what he said to heart. I really needed to start, putting my all into the weight room. And, I probably put on 30 pounds in the weight room, and it really turned over onto the golf course. So, if coach hadn't done that, I probably would still be 130 pounds soaking wet. So I credit that to coach for really pushing me in the weight room. And all the guys push each other in the weight room too. So that's great. And we have great trainers who really help us out. If your form's bad, they can help you out with that. And they always push us too. So it's been really good for our development as a team.
A lot to do with his athletic abilities development in the weight room. So Chris, why don't you take, and the reason I bring up the weight room specifically is if it wasn't for Tom and Kathy Ryan and the estate of Ellie Carson, which that money was directed to our #1 all-time fan and booster, Sandy McWright, that building would not have been built. And now we have access to it. It's been a great deal to us. So Chris, I'd ask you to talk about what we do in the Performance Center.
Start off by saying thanks, coach, for the kind words. Like you said, coming in, I really didn't believe in the strength training. I just thought as a golfer, you didn't really need it. But, I kind of took what he said to heart. I really needed to start, putting my all into the weight room. And, I probably put on 30 pounds in the weight room, and it really turned over onto the golf course. So, if coach hadn't done that, I probably would still be 130 pounds soaking wet. So I credit that to coach for really pushing me in the weight room. And all the guys push each other in the weight room too. So that's great. And we have great trainers who really help us out. If your form's bad, they can help you out with that. And they always push us too. So it's been really good for our development as a team. Other in the weight room too. So that's great. And we have great trainers who really help us out. If your form's bad, they can help you out with that. And they always push us too. So it's been really good for our development as a team.
So the next thing, I appreciate what you said, Chris. It's all lost now, but I said I put on 30 pounds in the room too, but it was the dining room. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the van we travel in. If you've been on campus, you've seen our van. We travel in an $85,000 Mercedes Sprinter van. It's got a 23-inch screen TV. It's got tables, work stations that come out of the armrests, leather captain seats that go almost all the way back, a sofa all the way in the back. It goes flat. It's got 6 feet by, it's about 4 feet by 6 feet storage in a separate compartment in the back of the van. We can fit 8 or 9 golf bags, all our luggage, golf shoes, etc. So we really do travel in comfort, and more importantly, we travel in safety. And the reason I bring it up is not because it's fancy, but because a donor gave us $85,000 for it. A donor and his family gave $85,000 for it. So we're greatly appreciative of that. So I'm going to call on B, if you would, it's Bryson, if you would just talk about the advantage of having the van and what you thought of the program once you saw the van when we recruited you.
Yeah, I mean, the van is super special for us to have. I mean, when I first came on my visit here, that was kind of the first thing we went to, and we took a ride around all the facilities and things like that in the van. And, we go to these tournaments and not all these teams have it. So it's definitely, we can see that, traveling in comfort is obviously huge. And I've gravitated myself towards the couch in the back. That's kind of where I sit. So I find that super comfortable, but it's super awesome to have.
The boys are able, because of TV, the guys are able to watch movies and things, and has a wonderful sound system. It's broken right now. It's been broken for 10 years. It won't play any rap music. We're going to get that fixed one day, I'm sure. It does play a lot of country music, which the driver and the front compartment people don't always love, but it's there. The next thing I want to talk about, because it came from a donor, we have 2 TrackMan units and computers with major graphics cards. The two computers and 2 TrackMan cards, $50,000, and it came from a husband and wife who have probably, I think, have given us, yes, definitely have given us more money than anyone else. Some of our favorite people, and to be able to work with this. If you don't know what a TrackMan is, but I think almost everybody on the call would know, it's a glorified radar system that measures 32 different things when you swing at a golf ball, as you hit the golf ball and as it goes forward. And to have 2 TrackMan that we can measure these things, and it also allows us the opportunity to we can play golf courses on the computer, believe it or not, and we can actually see the golf course and see the ball. The person I'd like to talk to about this issue is my early morning TrackMan hitting buddy, Jordan Breichert is a phenomenal worker. He works out 3 times a week with the team because of his class schedule, and he can't get to practice in the afternoon. Sometimes he's nice enough to invite me to coffee at 5:45 a.m. And he's coming in. Bryson's coming in with him a bunch on the off days, and even when we're not lifting, Jordan and Bryson will go back to the weight room and work out again. So special young man. Jordy, talk about what the TrackMan has allowed us to do.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely coming in last year as a transfer. I had personally never really used TrackMan before. I was kind of skeptical about it because I was more of a field player. And then until I really got introduced to it by Chris and Jason last year, especially one of our former players, I really got to see kind of the benefits of it and like how it can be used in like in a good way for your game. So this year I've kind of taken it upon myself to like really put that extra work in and get after it. So like Coach said, I've been trying to go in at 5:45, 6 a.m. like every day during the week that we don't have workouts. So the 3 days a week. Yeah, Bryson's come with me a few times too. It's been great. Like like I said, I'd never really focused on numbers like that before, and until it was explained to me, it was like a light bulb kind of went above my head. I could really like use the numbers that it would put out, and I could translate that to my game. So if we didn't have that, I don't think we would have a lot of success we've been having in the last couple of years. So I think we're really lucky to have it.
And I'm lucky because why would I not want to leave my home at 5 a.m. in the winter to see Jordan Breichert? The TrackMan is a special gift for me. So we move forward. I asked the boys a couple of questions in a minute, but so this year has been a very disjointed year. We didn't play last spring. Last spring we didn't play this fall, and now we've had a 2.5 COVID attack. We actually, if you count me, we have 8 people in the program, me and 7 players. I've had it. Austin Fox has had it. Andrew DiPetrillo has had it. Chris has it and is almost done with his quarantine. Bryson has it, and now Brandon Gillis has it. So it's been a rough go, but we're hardy folk. Believe it or not, we will probably go into the A10 championship having only practiced 7 or 8 times the entire semester. It's going to be a tough road to hoe, but like I said, we're ready for it. We're kind of a gritty team. We're the team that wakes up early and works hard. We take care of our business in the classroom, in the community. These guys, a couple of weeks ago, we went to Buttonhole, which is a teaching center for golf for inner city kids. We cleaned balls out of the woods. We raked every single trap. Earlier in that day, for almost an hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours, we collected 2,500 golf balls out of the woods at a driving area for a golf course that we practice on. So this is a group that really takes care of business all the time. Awfully proud of them. You'll probably notice that the 3 main speakers, Bryson, Jordy, and Chris, are wearing what we call a second uniform: white shirt, team tie, blue blazer. If you've come to any games when we've been honored, or your athletes have been honored, you'll see we're the only team that dresses like this. We really like to do what's right and show our fellow athletes, coaches, the school administration, and our boosters that we really do stand for something different. Moving forward, we're going to lose 1 player next year. Chris, through great urging on my part, just so you know where the nexus of the whole decision was, Chris is going to transfer to the University of Louisville for his 5th year, his COVID year. He does it with our great love and respect. It's the best thing for him as he marches towards a PGA Tour career. But everyone else will be back, and we are adding a transfer from Siena, a transfer from Berry College, which is a Division II school, but in the top 10 in the country. And we're adding a young man named Chuck Trigresser, who is actually on this phone call today. Not city kids. We cleaned balls out of the woods. We raked every single trap. Earlier in that day, for almost an hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours, we collected 2,500 golf balls out of the woods at a driving area for a golf course that we practice on. So this is a group that really takes care of business all the time. Awfully proud of them. You'll probably notice that the 3 main speakers, Bryson, Jordy, and Chris, are wearing what we call a second uniform: white shirt, team tie, blue blazer. If you've come to any games when we've been on it or your athletes have been on it, you'll see we're the only team that dresses like this. We really like to do what's right and show our fellow athletes, coaches, the school administration, and our boosters that we really do stand for something different. Moving forward, we're going to lose one player next year. Chris, through great urging on my part, just so you don't, so you know where the nexus of the whole decision was. Chris is going to transfer to the University of Louisville for his 5th year, his COVID year. He does it with our great love and respect. It's the best thing for him as he marches towards a PGA Tour career. But everyone else will be back, and we are adding a transfer from Siena, a transfer from Berry College, which is a Division II school, but in the top 10 in the country. And we're adding a young man named Chuck Trigresser, who is actually on this phone call today. But everyone else will be back, and we are adding a transfer from Siena, a transfer from Berry College, which is a Division II school, but in the top 10 in the country. And we're adding a young man named Chuck Trigresser, who is actually on this phone call today. Now, took a big leap of faith. I followed Chuck for a while. We connected the old-fashioned way, email, and then we talked on the phone once, and it was like I was talking to someone I had known for 20 years. Chuck and his dad drove from Western PA 8 hours to campus just to see the campus and see Point Judith, where we practice. Stayed overnight and then drove 8 hours straight back, having never met me or any of the players, because the NCAA would not allow any face-to-face meetings during COVID. So we're really looking forward to having Chuck join us, as we're looking forward to the 2 transfers, and we're going to be pretty darn strong next year. With that, all as prelude, I'm going to start with, I'll go back to you, Jordy. Since you transferred, Jordy, talk a little bit about what you saw in the program and what you would tell a recruit.
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, like Coach said, I'm from the Seattle area, so about as far away from Rhode Island as you could possibly get. So I get a lot of the time kind of, how'd you hear about Rhode Island? Why'd you come all the way across the country to go play golf here? And you know, like I said, like I kind of shot a leap of faith when I emailed the coach, and luckily kind of the stars aligned and I was able to get a roster spot. And I would not have changed that decision for anything, you know, even though I think the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, have probably been like the hardest possible situation for like any college student. It's still been a really good experience for me. Like Coach was talking about earlier, like these are the hardest working guys I think I've ever been a part of, compared to my last team, compared to like any high school sport I'd played. Like I don't know of any other golf team that's in the weight room at 5:30 and hitting balls at 6 a.m. like on off days, and doing 2-a-days. So we're practicing in the morning and then practicing in the afternoon, or driving an hour just to hit the driving range and then drive 40 minutes again to go play golf another time. Like there's just a lot we do as a program that I think is not seen. And until you really get to experience it, like you really get a sense of how hard everyone works. And I felt like part of the family, like day one, like right when I moved in, the only person I had met on my visit was Chris. So my first day in Rhode Island, I hadn't met anybody on the team. I moved into a house with 3 other guys other than Chris, like who I had never met before. And I felt like I was at home right away. So like Coach was saying, like we're a hardworking group of kids. You know, we're family. It's a family atmosphere kind of where no matter where we are. And it's been great so far for me.
Thanks, Jordy. This is a special young man. He did take a big leap of faith and came out with his dad. It was like the perfect visit, from the weather to everything we did, to the food, to the conversation. We're thrilled to have him. He'll be our captain next year. He's been the assistant captain this year and really has done a phenomenal job for us. He's someone I've come to rely on a lot more this semester, someone I trust. And I can say this about a lot of guys, but this is a total team player. The sacrifice he's made this year to try to get better has been unmatched. So now we'll go to Bryson. Bryson, say hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. And Dad.
Oh, Dad, I didn't know Dad was on the call. I can't see. I can see the list. I can't see everybody. As I said, Bryson was a great basketball player in high school. He's the first player I've ever had that hits on the wrong side of the ball. That was a big adjustment. But I'd heard a lot about him. We had corresponded, and I drove forever. I think the last 8 miles were by Moose or something to go see him in the Vermont Am. And if this is everything you need to know about Bryson as a golfer. When I got there, I went to see someone else play first during the same tournament because I knew I was going to spend most of the day with Bryson. When I got there, he was over to the side of a green. It had to be a 22 foot elevation to the hole. And he saw me coming, and I always know what that's like. When I go to a tournament and the parents are there, the moms usually look at me and go, that's the devil that's going to take my child away from me. And then the dads go, oh, that's the guy that's going to help me pay for my son's education. So when I got to Bryson, and the boys sometimes get nervous, and I've seen it happen because a college coach is coming to see them. I went to see Bryson, and I was just trying to break the ice, make him feel, just relax and play golf. I said, I just drove 4 hours to see you hit this shot. It was an impossible shot. I was just trying to make him feel better. And then he hit it. How far was it when it finished?
No, maybe a foot.
A foot away.
Probably one of the best shots I hit all week.
So I was literally just going to turn around and, as a joke, turn around and leave and offer him a scholarship when I got home. But I stayed, and it's been a great joy to get to know his family. His grandparents are spectacular. His mom and dad are spectacular. I kind of kid his mom that we're pen pals. We've had all sorts of, during the recruitment process in his first year, we had all sorts of emails going back and forth. And now I can only eat Cabot cheese because that's where she works. But B, why don't you talk about the experience? Jordan talked about it as a transfer, but talk about the experience when you come in as a freshman. There are 480 athletes on campus. Golf is, at one point, someone said in administration, we're the model program. We're the best academic rated team of men. Our booster club is doing very, very well. We've won 18 times in 9 years. We look and act differently than all the other athletes. We do tons of community service, but you're still coming in to compete for a spot. To tell, what did you see in the program the summer before you got there, and what did you see once you got there?
Yeah, so the first thing is obviously the transition. I'm from a pretty small town, a small high school, and then going to what I think is a pretty big school. But coming as a freshman, there's just a lot of things you have to learn, a lot of things you have to adjust and adapt to. But kind of like Jordy said, I came into a really hardworking group, and I just kind of picked up. There's kids you kind of gravitate to. I gravitated to Chris pretty early. He was someone that I could relate to, as well as Jordy and things like that, where I was just able to pick up kind of how they handle things, how they handle certain situations. So that's kind of what I tried to do when I got here.
Christopher, I won't go through the whole thing, but Chris came in. He was rated the top pro baseball prospect before he got here. Was athlete of the year at the best athletics high school in the state of Massachusetts. He played a lot of golf. It was new to competitive golf at a higher level. He's so talented, he would just hit it, go find it, hit it again. He never really put a lot of his gifted mind into the game. He used all his athletic ability. But when he came here, he did what a lot of freshmen do. He made freshman mistakes, and it wasn't the easiest transition. Did I lose you guys?
Obviously the transition. I'm from a pretty small town, a small high school, and then going to what I think is a pretty big school. But coming as a freshman, there's just a lot of things you have to learn, a lot of things you have to adjust and adapt to. But kind of like Jordy said, I came into a really hardworking group, and I just kind of picked up. There's kids you kind of gravitate to. I gravitated to Chris pretty early. He was someone that I could relate to, as well as Jordy and things like that, where I was just able to pick up kind of how they handle things, how they handle certain situations. So that's kind of what I tried to do when I got here.
Christopher, I won't go through the whole thing, but Chris came in. He was rated the top pro baseball prospect before he got here. was athlete of the year at the best athletics high school in the state of Massachusetts. He played a lot of golf, but was new to competitive golf at a higher level. He's so talented, he would just hit it, go find it, hit it again. He never really put a lot of his gifted mind into the game. He used all his athletic ability. But when he came here, he did what a lot of freshmen do. He made freshman mistakes, and it wasn't the easiest transition. He never really put a lot of his gifted mind into the game. He used all his athletic ability. But when he came here, he did what a lot of freshmen do. He made freshman mistakes, and it wasn't the easiest transition. Did I lose you guys? Okay, it wasn't the easiest transition in the world for him, and it was a rough semester, and he was immature as all 18-year-olds are. But Chris, talk about that time. You can flat out say I was a blank to you, but talk about that time and what the discipline, the expectation, and the support of the program meant to you to where you are now.
Yeah, so like Coach said, I did have a rough first semester. I wasn't Coach's biggest fan, we can say. But yeah, I was immature, a lot of freshman mistakes. But I think Coach said this to me one time, that I wasn't a quote unquote roadie golfer. Like I didn't do what roadie golfers did. And after that first semester, Coach and I sat down, we had a long talk, and basically just talked about my future with the program, and that I really needed to change how I was acting. And I did moving forward. And ever since I had that conversation with Coach, I feel like I kind of stand for everything that roadie golf stands for. So that conversation with Coach, we just talked about like working really hard and just doing the right things on and off the golf course. So that was a big conversation between the two of us that really helped me moving forward.
Okay, one last lap for everybody. I'll stick with you, Chris, because that way the mic's still open. If you tell a story about roadie golf in the future, what will it be?
Oh, probably just, all the wins we've had, just like every time we win, I feel like it just brings all the guys so close together. Like I feel like the last one that we won at Rolling Green would probably be the one I tell, just because of everything we went through. Like it's been so hard on all the guys, and for us to come together like that kind of just shows what roadie golf's all about. Just being tough, and when you get on the golf course, just forget about everything else and just go play golf, and just kind of just shows how tough we all are, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. Simply, this term we played in Rolling Green, we really should not have had any expectation. We were coming out of we only practiced a couple times. We played in a one-day tournament where Chris played great. He won, but everyone else did not play well for the most part. Bryson hit it pretty good, but we let a zillion shots go away. But it wasn't because we were physically rusty; we were competitive rusty. So we went down there because of someone on this call that I'm saving to last. I went to our sport administrator and said, this is probably a month ahead of 6 weeks ahead of time, and said, I need to do something with this team to show them that we believe in them, not just me, not just you, but the school believes in them. And I'd like to go to 3 tournaments a full day early. It's easier to do in a COVID situation because the boys can do Zoom calls, or they don't have to be for class, or they can see recordings. And so my sport administrator said absolutely yes. So we were able to go down to Rolling Green a day early, and I think it meant a great deal to us. It was frigid. The boys played 18 holes. I conveniently had a Zoom call, which I legitimately did, but it was great that I could stay in the clubhouse. But they went out there in frigid weather, howling winds, and we had a pre-tournament practice round at a wonderful golf course in Philadelphia. We went out to dinner that night with our good luck charms, and then the next day we went to the practice round for the tournament, and it was colder and windier, but we gutted through it, and we had a very, very productive practice round. And the next morning, the only thing I said to them really before we got off the van was that we came down here to win. Our overall goal was to get ready for the 810s and to find ourselves along the way, but we could do that 6 days a week. that day of the week, we came down there to win. We saw all these other teams there, 13 teams, and quite honestly, a couple teams were more advanced than we were, but I knew we were tougher, and we proved it and we won it. Bryson and Brandon even par, Chris won over. So the toughness, I think, really sets us off. Go back to you, B. What story or stories would you tell? And feel free to take a shot at the head coach if you have to. But what stories are going to mean the most to you? Are you going to tell after you graduate?
As a whole, probably the spring break trip. For me, that was one of the most fun times I've had here. But kind of just looking at that trip, Coach taking off the front bumper of the van. Spring break trip. That was pretty funny. I have some videos from that will be looked at years down the road. But yeah.
By the way, you have a lot of videos of me at this point.
Yeah, the shank of you in the house. There's plenty.
I just said it. I know.
But yeah, that trip for me was one of the most fun times I've had here.
But just so people know, it was a ton of fun because we spend a ton of time together. And I'm cognizant enough that we're gone for 7 days. 3 of the days we do takeout at night because, and I always say it's to watch the NCAA tournament or something, but it's really so the boys don't have to deal with me every single night. But it's not just fun. We go down there, we work our rear ends off down there.
Yeah, it's practice all day, every day. Having the opportunity to play 3-4 different courses, and I haven't even experienced the full thing yet. Obviously, we had to come back early last year because of COVID, but just kind of mixing that, us having fun, and then the amount of work that we put in, the amount of practice that we put in is good.
Okay, did it again. As we just saw, an alumnus just asked, why am I still allowed to drive the van? And I'll simply say this, having seen your swing, I could ask why you're still allowed to drive the golf ball, Matt. So that'll be a discussion for another point. Matty Goldman, one of my all-time favorite players. He came in as a walk-on, hysterically funny. He exposed his family to us, which is great. We spent some wonderful days with his grandparents down in the Orlando area. Matt is a very successful accountant, stayed an extra year to get his master's in accounting, doing very well for himself, and now has lured Seamus Fennelly, his dear friend from Coventry, Rhode Island. He's lured him to New Jersey so they can be the best two-man team in Jersey. Which brings us to you, Jordy. You've played on a lot of teams. You hinted at this a little bit before. You played on a lot of teams, football and basketball, high-profile sports. Obviously, golf at URI is not a high-profile sport. What's it like just walking? We're in the weight room on Fridays with the football team sometimes. We're with other teams. What's it like knowing you're a URI golfer and representing URI?
It definitely means a lot. Yeah, like you said, up until my freshman year of college, I had not played one sport for more than maybe 4 months a year. Fall, I would play football from about August till October, then basketball tryouts in November, go that till about March, and then we pick up the clubs and I'll play golf from March to start of summer, and then I'm either doing basketball or football tryouts. So that my freshman year of college was the first year I'd ever played one sport for the whole year. And it was weird because I'd never, each sport I played, there's so many different, situations you get yourself in. And with golf, I always felt like it was so individual just because when I played basketball and football, it's so team oriented. And then I quickly realized, especially when I got to Rhode Island, of how much of a team atmosphere it is, and how much of a family you become very, very fast. And I think that has something to do with how small our team is. There's no secrets with us. Everyone's with us at all times. I think a quick story, just last year, for Parents Weekend, for example, it's everyone's parents comes down, we get to tailgate the football game. We all came back to our house after, hung out, everybody. You can kind of see everyone, not just the players, but the collective Rhodey Golf family, and you can tell how much that means to everybody. And like I said, I've only been here for almost 2 years now. Like I said, my parents had never met anybody. They flew over for parents weekend, and they fit in like that. Like everything was just, so team and family oriented. I think that's what it feels like walking around. You feel that sense of pride. So that's probably what I would say to that.
So I appreciate it. Appreciate the folks on the call. I'll turn it back to Jeff in a second, but appreciate everyone being here. Means a great deal to me personally that Trusan's on this call. It won't be forgotten. And glad to have Chuck, and I'm sure his parents are on the call. Chuck will be joining us next year. I do want to say something. As Amy started this, I was deputy athletic director for a long time. I was interim athletic director for over a year in what we'll politely call troubled times at URI. And met a lot of great people on campus in the athletic department. I've had the good fortune of reporting to, I was a sport administrator for golf. I reported to Thor when I was deputy and golf coach, and then I reported to John Vannon for a number of years. But now our sport administrator is Patty Testa, who's on the call. And I know I speak for everyone on the team. This is a woman hitting on all cylinders. Is a family person, serves the country, and our sport administrator. She's our, we kind of kid the golf mom, but has helped us through the toughest time we've ever had for all sorts of reasons, COVID related, non-COVID related, over the last probably 7 or 8 months. And she's the recipient of these great texts. Please call ASAP. And then she calls, having said prayers before she picks up the phone because something else is going wrong. But every time I get off the phone, I feel better about me and URI Golf. So our highest praise and tribute to Patty. And now I'll turn, unless there's questions from other folks, and they can be from anyone except Matt Goldman, because he'll kill me. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them or send them, or I don't know what the mechanism is, Amy, but turning over to Jeff Bennett. Jeff Bennett is a tremendous young man, a phenomenal talent. We're very lucky to have him. The best person I've ever worked with in all fundraising in my time has been Trusan. And as I said before, Jeff is right on his heels. Jeff is a younger version of Trusan, and sorry to say this true, but he's going to catch you one day, because this kid has monster talent and works as hard as you do. So we're very happy to be here. He's my golfing buddy, even though he's turning into a Muni guy this year. So thanks for everyone being on the call, and it's all yours, Jeff.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for the kind words. My name is Jeff Bennett. I'm the Assistant Director of Athletic Development. I'd like to thank all the friends and family who support the golf program. Financial support really helps these student athletes in all that they do to compete at the highest level. Whether that's, building a strong competition schedule, or to the van that they travel in that coach sometimes crashes, and to how they train. It's much appreciated and helps them, reach their full potential. So we really appreciate it. If you want to find out how you can make an impact, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And the university is also in the midst of Big Ideas, Bold Plans, the campaign for the University of Rhode Island. And this is a capital campaign that has a goal of $250 million, of which we're very proud to say that so far over 202 million of that has already been raised. So any gift towards men's golf would go towards this campaign. So like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, but we really do appreciate your support, and it goes a long way with these student athletes and programs.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Coach, for taking the time out. And thank you so much to our student athletes. I hope you all have a good rest of season, that you feel better soon, do well on finals, and enjoy the summer. Thank you all.